Couple tips if you have a Grandsport Corvette installing the AMT motor mounts. Most of their instructions are good that they give you here. So I removed the exhaust headers on both sides, gave you plenty of room. But a couple things that I think are unique to a Grandsport, because we have these extra coolers. So you can see those, silver lines coming. That's for like an oil cooler. We have some additional lines on both sides. So the bolt for your bracket on the right side there, you can see it's going to hit that line if you don't remove it. So what I did, you just remove the two bolts that hold that cooler line to the block. This lets you just move it that little bit out of the way, and it'll let you get that bolt out. Other tips, so there's two bolts in here. So you have the one up top, and there's one underneath that you can't see from this angle. I just recommend, just using a small 3/8 ratchet with a short 15 mil socket. I was trying to use, my big boys with extensions and stuff going from the wheel well side, and I just couldn't get quite on it. And these don't have that much torque, and it gives you just enough space with that, and you can break them both loose and then, work them out. And that gets your bracket off. Here's a look at those cooler lines. So these are the two bolts you're gonna take out, and then this lets you kind of pull your lines that are in the way. So there's your motor mount bracket and the bolt that gets blocked right there. So once you undo those lines, you're able to pull it away, and then you're able to fish that bolt out just barely without having to take anything else apart. Obviously it's going to leak oil initially, so I put an oil drain pan underneath, caught a majority of what came out. It's not a ton, maybe half a quart. But then it is going to basically drip the entire time you're working. So I just left a big piece of cardboard here on the ground, and it's going to get on your jack, because you put that here to jack up the motor. So I put some paper towels on top, and it was catching the oil there. Yeah. One other note about the bolt that's behind the line there, down there. You're not gonna be able to get your socket on that, so I just used a 10 mil or a regular box wrench on the open side, just to get on there and crack it loose, and kind of worked it out just a couple times, and then I was able to use my fingers real slowly to get that guy out, because there's that heat shield wrapped line, and I didn't want to crush on it to get my socket on, so it didn't cut it up. I was able to get it out and back on without really doing any marring damage, to that line or anything down there. So that's kind of just my recommendation, just to keep it easy and not hurt anything. For the driver's side, or the passenger side rather, we have a bit more things in the way as well. So we have the dry sump system, and mine, because it's a manual, I think automatic Grandsports don't have this, but there's some additional lines there, and then our air compressor for our air conditioning is in a different location. So I think on normal Corvettes, our air compressor there isn't right next to the freaking bracket. So when you you can get to all the bolts in the similar fashion as I mentioned on the other side, just using the smaller 15 mil socket, get in there, just kind of feel around, trying to get a socket on it. Everything's getting blocked by other studs and whatnot. When you go to pull this out, the stock motor mount, like this front plate is going to hit the back of the air compressor, AC compressor housing there on the bottom. So what I did is, the directions say to just take off the lower bolt underneath the mount on one side and then jack the engine up. On mine, that didn't give me enough room. I still had a good inch or so until the intake would hit the cowl here. So just a real easy thing, don't have to remove your AC compressor or anything, just take the bottom bolt out on the driver's side motor mount, and that lets the whole engine kind of move up higher. So once I was able to do that, the housing and motor mount wasn't able to just barely clear this, and I was able to pull it out without having to remove anything else, relocate any lines or unplug anything. So just my two tips. I've found, definitely take the exhaust headers out, and then what I've kind of discussed here. And then we have this PCV hose. I'm not sure if all of them have this, that goes a little farther back. It kind of takes off about a 1/2 inch of room that you can jack the engine up. So just unplug that from the PCV breather. So it's just this little clip. You kind of push that to the side and it'll let you pop this off, that little nub. And then you can move this whole hose to the front, and then that gives you an extra, you know, ½ inch to jack your motor up. And then everything came out pretty smoothly after that. So that's just my recommendations when putting on your motor mount, replacing with the AMT ones.